You're listening to Gay News.
The latest news from the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender and queer community. And now your host, Brandon Carmody.
You're listening to Gay News. Today is June 30th, 2015. I'm Brandon Carmody. We want to welcome our listeners in the United States and around the world. Here are your top 5 LGBTQ stories for June 30th. Story number 1. Stephen Colbert destroys dissenting justices in same-sex marriage decision. We have a feeling his monologues aren't going to be pretty. Not even into his late show tenure yet, new host Stephen Colbert can't wait to dig into the current events and find the funny. With the landmark 5-4 decision by the U.S. Supreme Court on Friday allowing same-sex couples to legally marry in all 50 states, Colbert justifiably tore into the 4 dissenting justices.
I'm here to say congratulations, gays. You now have the right to marry in all 50 states. So if you're a homosexual and living in North Dakota, all your problems are solved. Enjoy Dakota Pride Week. Wow. History moves fast. It's hard to believe that gay Americans achieved full constitutional personhood just 5 years after corporations did. Folks, I was so excited when I saw the news. Though at first I had the TV on mute and I thought they had legalized rainbows. Of course, not everyone's celebrating. My condolences to gays with commitment issues who are asking their partner if we can just please talk about this when I get home from work today. Also unhappy? 4 of the 9 Supreme Court justices. I'll let you guess which ones. Here's a hint. Gay bad. And, speaking of which, I've got the ruling right here. First of all, talk about padding your page count. Look at these margins. That's crazy. Guys, your teacher's going to know. And those 4 guys are steamed, but for the record, not because they're against gay marriage. In fact, in his dissent, Chief Justice Roberts encourages marriage equality supporters to, quote, celebrate the achievement of a desired goal. Celebrate the opportunity for a new expression of commitment to a partner. Celebrate the availability of new benefits, but do not celebrate the Constitution. It had nothing to do with it. So gay couples, you can expect this card from him at your wedding. You guys are perfect for each other and a cancer on our democracy. Now, Justice Scalia was a little more nuanced in his criticism, writing that if he ever joined an opinion that began the way Justice Kennedy's majority decision did, quote, I would hide my head in a bag. I could have sworn he was already hiding his head in a flesh-toned cinch sack. Please come on my show, sir.
Clip provided courtesy of The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, which premiered September 8, 2015 on CBS. Please don't sue us. More than 26 million Facebook users have celebrated same-sex marriage being made legal in the U.S. by adding a rainbow filter to their profile picture. The pictures have received more than 500 million likes and comments. The social networking site has reported that numerous public figures have shown support for LGBTI rights, including Ellen DeGeneres, Leonardo DiCaprio, Anne Hathaway, and Arnold Schwarzenegger. It originated when 2 of the company's interns built the rainbow filter as part of an internal hackathon, and as they were so popular, the team decided to go global. It has also led to many celebrities knowing who their fans really are. When Schwarzenegger changed his profile, one Anne asked what was wrong with him. Anne? Hi, Anne. One fan asked what was wrong with them, and Arnold Schwarzenegger said he would now have to go unlike the page. The actor's response, hasta la vista, Anne. Puerto Rico will begin marrying same-sex couples in early July. Puerto Rico Governor Alejandro Garcia Padilla has announced that his government will honor the verdict of the U.S. Supreme Court and follow Guam in becoming a U.S. overseas territory that allows gay marriage. Padilla made the announcement hours after the U.S. Supreme Court released its verdict on the constitutionality of same-sex marriage on Friday, but it went largely unnoticed amid the fanfare of marriage equality coming to the U.S. states. Padilla signed an executive order requiring all Puerto Rican government agencies to become compliant with the court's ruling within 15 days. Puerto Rican marriage licenses are handled by the island's health department and is expected to start issuing them to same-sex couples in early July. Puerto Rico's Justice Secretary Cesar Miranda welcomed the court's ruling, calling it a huge step in the quest for equal rights. You cannot deny people the right to love. However, he cautioned it was too early to say whether the court's ruling had also conferred the right to same-sex couples in Puerto Rico to adopt children. There is no news yet out of the Virgin Islands, Northern Mariana Islands, or American Samoa as to whether those overseas territories will accept the court's ruling and allow gay couples to marry. However, Guam became the first overseas territory to allow gay marriage in a surprise move at the beginning of June in anticipation of the court's ruling. Texas Attorney General. State workers can deny marriage licenses to same-sex couples. Texas conservative Republican Attorney General Ken Paxton called the Supreme Court decision giving same-sex couples the right to marry a lawless ruling and said state workers can cite their religious objections in denying marriage licenses. He warned in a statement Sunday that any clerk, justice of the peace, or other administrator who declines to issue a license to a same-sex couple could face litigation or a fine. In its 5-4 opinion Friday, the Supreme Court did nothing to eliminate the rights of religious liberty, Paxton opinion states. This newly minted federal constitutional right to same-sex marriage can and should peacefully coexist with long-standing constitutional and statutory rights, including the rights to free exercise of religion and freedom of speech, the AG wrote. While many Republicans have said they disagreed with the Supreme Court ruling, officials in most states have said that they will abide by it. Paxton's comments echoed those Friday of Governor Greg Abbott, who said Texans can't be forced by the court ruling to act contrary to their religious freedom. Despite the Supreme Court's ruling, Texans' fundamental right to religious liberty remains protected, Abbott said Friday. In our fifth story today, Girl Scouts Council returns $100,000 donation over anti-transgender provision. The Girl Scouts of Western Washington said it has returned a $100,000 donation because it came with the provision that the money couldn't be used to support transgender girls. The group said it sent back the money in late May after the donor had asked that the gift be returned unless the group guaranteed it would not be used to benefit transgender girls. Girl Scouts is for every girl, and that is every girl regardless of race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, sexual orientation, gender identity, or religion. Every girl is every girl, Megan Furlan, CEO of the Girl Scouts of Western Washington, said in an interview Tuesday. It was a sad decision, but it was not a difficult decision. There was no way I would be put in a situation of refusing a girl participation because of a gift. It was really that quick. The local council has transgender girls participating in the Girl Scouts. The council's vice president of marketing and communications. To preserve their privacy, Dave declined to say how many or provide their details about them. But $100,000 is a lot of money, the group noted, representing about 1/4 of what it raises each year to provide financial help for the girls to go to camp and participate in other activities. So leaders of the local nonprofit, one of the 112 independent local councils across the country that serves more than 25,000 girls in Western Washington, talked about how they could communicate their needs to the community. On Monday, the group set up a crowdfunding campaign asking for help to fill the gap. Help us raise back the $100,000 a donor asked us to return because we welcome transgender girls, it said on the fundraising page on Indiegogo.com. By Tuesday afternoon, thousands had given more than $185,000. We are astounded, Dave said. We are prepared for a 30-day campaign. We raised our goal in a day. After the Supreme Court extended the right to marry to same-sex couples across America, politicians posted their reactions to Twitter. President Barack Obama tweeted his reaction with the hashtag #LoveWins, which along with the SCOTUS marriage topped the Twitter trends in the U.S. and Canada. We want to bring in Gay News contributor Special Agent Jay. Welcome back to Gay News.
Thanks for having me back, Brendan.
So while the LGBTQ community was engaged in a weekend-long party, oh, do you see what I did there? There were some folks who vehemently voiced their opposition to the ruling, including top GOP presidential contenders, who have all voiced strong opposition this week to the SCOTUS ruling. So let's take a look at them one by one. Number 1, Jeb. Guided by my faith, I believe in traditional marriage. I believe the Supreme Court should have allowed the states to make this decision. I also believe that we should love our neighbor and respect others, including those making lifetime commitments. In a country as diverse as ours, good people who have opposing views should be able to live side by side. It is now crucial that as a country we protect religious freedom and the right of conscience and also not discriminate. So question number 1, Jay, is this Bush 3.0 bigger, badder, and upgraded from the first 2 versions of the software that we saw released?
That's a really good question, and to be honest with you, I can't really comment too much on the first Bush. I'm a bit younger than you are. I do remember the war. I remember those shocking images of the missiles being shot at specific targets and the light up skies with the night vision. Now, when it comes to W, yes, that man could not get through a sentence without stumbling over himself. There's a whole book full of Bushisms, one for every day of the year, and I think there's actually a sequel to it. People on either side of the aisle agreed that he completely mishandled things. I mean, I'm often asked, well, how do you think Gore would have handled 9/11? And the answer to that is, I don't know, but I can tell you for certain he wouldn't have sat in a Florida classroom reading My Pet Goat for 8 more minutes after being told that the country was under attack.
Right.
When it comes to his brother, he is trying to distance himself so far from the Bush name. You know, you've seen the campaign sign, just Jeb with an exclamation point. I don't know what the heck he's so excited about. But, you know, that's a good question. That is a really good question. I don't care for anybody with the last name Bush, and that's coming from someone who's actually related to the family, so I must admit I'm a bit biased. But I don't think the country wants another Bush. I think we're kind of tired of hearing the name. And it's just been connected to so many, terrible, poorly made decisions, and it's cost so many thousands of American lives and Iraqi civilians' lives, and lives all over the board have been lost over mistakes in intelligence and preemptive strikes and acting without a full book of information and saying, well, this is our best guess, and feeding the public these misinformations and half-truths like, oh, these WMDs were there, and they weren't. And, I think everything with the name Bush attached to it has just left a very sour taste in everybody's mouth, and I think they're looking for someone else.
All right, let's look at somebody else then. Governor Bobby Jindal. Tweet number 1 of 3, hilariously. Tweet number 1, marriage between a man and a woman was established by God, and no earthly court can alter that. Tweet number 2, this ruling must not be used as pretext by Washington to erode our religious liberty. And his third and final tweet on the topic, I will never stop fighting for religious liberty, and I hope our leaders in D.C. join me. And then he released an email statement. So I'm going to give you the highlights here. The Supreme Court decision today conveniently and not surprisingly follows public opinion polls and tramples on states' rights that were once protected by the 10th Amendment of the Constitution. Marriage between a man and a woman was established by God, and no earthly court can alter that. This decision will pave the way for an all-out assault against the religious freedom rights of Christians who disagree with this decision. This ruling must not be used as a pretext by Washington to erode our rights to religious liberty. Now, Special Agent Jay, did you notice that it took Bobby Jindal 3 tweets to try and get his point across? I mean, he's as bad as Cher when she gets a hold of the BlackBerry. Governor Bobby Jindal's administration also says that gay marriage will certainly not be offered or recognized in Louisiana, but his staff acknowledges that it's likely coming. So why don't we go ahead and get your reaction to Bobby Jindal's opposition, and why is he delaying the gay marriage rollout in Louisiana?
Well, first and foremost, it sounds like he's a Fox News addict, and he's just regurgitating everything one of those talking heads has been spouting. I mean, he probably has Bill O'Reilly in his back pocket, for all I know. But if it took him 3 tweets just to get one message across, he clearly doesn't have a fully formed idea as to how he wants to approach the situation. Everybody's kind of tiptoeing around this decision because now the polling has revealed that it's a 60-40 split in favor of same-sex marriage. There's no denying that, and I'm actually willing to wager that that number is a bit higher, probably closer to 65 or 70% in favor. You can never be sure if someone's husband is listening over a wife's shoulder as they're being polled. When Obama was elected the first time, my mom called me in a very hushed voice, and I could hear my dad ranting and raving in the background because he desperately wanted, the other candidate to win. And it's frustrating for me to have people say that their religious freedoms are being trampled on. And like, no, your religious freedoms are not being trampled on. My freedoms have been trampled on this whole time. I'm just asking for a fair deal. And I don't see how my living my life, doing what I've been doing this whole time, and a little piece of paper is going to change all that. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It does not necessarily follow. It's a non sequitur.
Do you believe in the sincerity, when you hear Jeb Bush and the others all talking about, quote unquote, guided by my faith? I believe in traditional marriage, guided by my faith. Do you believe that they're speaking from the sincere laurels of being guided by their religious faith, or is it that they are pandering to an evangelical voting base?
Well, let me tell you, that's a whole episode in and of itself, the debate over what religion truly is. If you get 2 or more followers, you can go online and have a specific church named after. There's a Church of Elvis, for crying out loud. Is someone going to say that they're trampling all over the King's faith? I don't think so. But it's a guided by religious faith. I think that's a bit misguided by their faith, actually, because those are the same people that will quote one verse out of Leviticus and then one verse out of the New Testament. You can't pick and choose. You have to take the whole book and take it in context. You can't take one verse out of context and ignore everything that happened before or after it. They cherry pick what they want. And it seems like blind faith to me is what it really feels. They're being guided by their blind faith. I think it's the best way to put that.
Well, let's narrow it down into the more specifics, because we can never forget the power of the evangelical vote. You and I were both there for election night 2004, and we've seen the devastating power of that evangelical vote and which way it can swing the country. So, in this question, Jay, when you look at the current polling taken before and after the ruling, support of same-sex marriage is at 60%, which is an all-time high, and the Supreme Court has validated the public opinion. So, this is an election question for the GOP contenders. How tricky do you think it's going to be for Jindal, Bush, Cruz, I Heart Huckabee, and all of the others who are caught in the ultra-radical, religious right, rock-and-a-hard-place political position of needing to be faithful to their evangelical base who deeply oppose homosexuality and gay marriage as a moral issue, but still trying to win the presidency in a country that's now 60-40 and has marriage equality in all 50 states. So what's your take on how GOP political contenders take back the White House?
They won't.
Oh.
They simply will not.
Okay. Not happening.
No, it's as simple as that, because when you talk about religion and the specific denominations, evangelical is very, very broad. Let me give you a very specific example. I was raised in the evangelical church. 20 years ago, yes, it was the pounding the Bible, fire and brimstone, and homosexuals are going to hell. But now, 20 years later, my pastor and his wife know me. They know my partner. We're welcome in the church. We are part of the congregation. We engage in church functions. Nobody's afraid to give me a hug. It's no more laying on hands of me and we're praying for you. It's, how are you doing today? How's Buddy doing? That sort of thing. And that is an evangelical church. It says so right out in the front reader board. And my partner has an interesting saying from someone else. And it says, the reader board out front doesn't tell me what your faith is. It tells me where you stopped.
I think we're going to leave that one there. It's going to be an ongoing debate, I'm sure. Now, I know that you're dying to talk about Trump. So one hilarious note that I want to make is that I work nights now, and I sleep during the day. So one of the things that happens is that from time to time, my phone just blows off. Some major news event happens, and as you can imagine with an iPhone, I have every type of news app known to man. And so if Trump sneezes, that iPhone is going to blow up. CNN, USA Today, HuffPost. So I literally just couldn't help but be awakened yesterday by something related to Trump. I'll let you weigh in on it. But the headline said, NBC severs ties with Donald Trump over his derogatory remarks about Mexicans. NBC is done with Donald Trump. The network has severed its ties with the billionaire following controversial remarks about Mexicans. He made those when he announced that he's running for president. NPR TV critic Eric Diggins says NBC's move threatens a Trump-centered media empire, which includes 2 beauty pageants and a reality show. So, Jay, what's your take on Donald Trump now that NBC has literally said, you're fired?
What's my take on Donald Trump? He's fired. I mean, he already made a huge misstep. His announcement for candidacy, he generalized Hispanics and Mexicans, in quotes, as rapists and drug dealers. And you really don't, step one, do not anger your opponents one of your opponent's largest voter bases. Because those who are typically feeling disenfranchised and rather apathetic about the voting process, thinking, oh, my vote doesn't count, that's the sort of thing that gets them off the couch and into the voting booths. And that's what's going to cost them the election. These people are falling all over themselves, trying to position themselves for the game of the century, and Hillary is just kind of sitting back watching all these guys make complete fools of themselves. She's letting them win the election for her.
They are pretty much handing Hillary the election on a silver platter. I don't see her as even needing to work very hard at this point, honestly.
Well, have you noticed she hasn't made a single comment about anything? She's been incredibly quiet for the past week or so, and I think that's a very wise decision on her part, because she's just allowing the public to see how much ignorance and bigotry is in the minds of these people. They are so locked in to this paradigm, and they're refusing to think outside of that tiny little box that they're in and just look around. That person that handed you the burger at the drive-thru might be a gay person. That person who responded to the 911 call might be a gay person. That person who teaches your child third-grade math might be a gay person. The problem is that they have the blinders on. They don't want to believe it. They have their fingers in their ear going, la, 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 la. And they just need to get over it. This is the world. We're here. We're not going away. And, this is a brave new world we're facing. And like I said in yesterday's episode, I'm surprised that it took only 11 years, because it's been a rapid acceleration in a change of thought and acceptance. And this younger generation that's coming into the world is looking around wondering, what the heck is wrong with this place? What have you done? Let's see what we can do to fix this. They're tired of seeing people oppressed. They're tired of seeing people seen as second-class citizens. I'm just as capable of tying my shoes as a straight person. I'm just as capable of adding 2 and 2. There's nothing handicapped about me. And I see a reformation of thought. And I find that very encouraging, that the younger people are becoming more politically active, and they're becoming, and the people who were coming to my door, asking for me to sign petitions, most of them were under the age of 25. A couple of years ago, maybe 10 years ago, it was people in their 30s and 40s. So there's this young grassroots movement that is desperate to change the world they live in, and I find that very encouraging.
The funny thing, following up on that, Jay, is that we've heard for so long now, and I know that you and I have been speaking for more than a decade on these topics, is they used to talk about the youth being the swing vote, and that was why, in Bush v. Gore in 2000, and in 2004, when you had John Kerry opposing George Bush, they were so desperately going after that youthful swing vote. But now, I'm still in awe, and I think a lot of people are, over the Supreme Court decision over gay marriage. I think that the country just went through such a polar shift that the entire GOP base is trying to decide and to confer with each other what is going to be the current GOP's position on gay marriage and on the current climate in America. Their vehement stance against gay marriage is going to be increasingly unpopular. So my prediction right now is that you might see someone break away, and I'm not talking about a sudden, my position has evolved on the matter, but I think that you might see 1 or 2 of them try to break away from the pack so that they stand out and come to the light side or the rainbow side. I wouldn't be surprised at this point. I don't know who it's going to be. I think Carly Fiorina is the only one that I can see making that stride across the aisle. I think the others have made their position pretty clear.
Well, if you recall, even Obama himself at first was a bit wishy-washy about his stance on same-sex marriage, and he really didn't give a definitive answer either way. But the way I see it, it says 60-40. Well, there's obviously a certain percentage that is quote-unquote undecided. Now, to me, what undecided means, it's tantamount to saying yes. Because what that says to me is, it's kind of like I don't care, and that's like, okay, if they're going to do that, that's fine. But, if someone's going to go out there and spread this no, 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 negativity really has no place in this world anymore. And if someone's going to say this is wrong, this is bad, this needs to be abolished, this is sick, this is immoral, that's the sort of thing that's going to repel them. I mean, you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar, right? So, if we spread this message of love and acceptance and tolerance and understanding, and it's like, you know what? I will listen to someone's point of view, and then I will share mine, and hopefully they will not try to interrupt me, because I do my best not to try to interrupt them unless they are saying something completely out of whack. But it just seems to me, as I said, like you said, there is a polar shift that is happening in mind, body, and spirit. And I see that as a very healthy change. And a long time coming, probably a bit overdue, but better late than never.
We have shown on the program, and if you've been following the Hillary Clinton campaign's emails over the last few days, leading up to the Supreme Court decision, Hillary released an equality video of which I believe it's her speech from the United Nations, her famous speech from 2012 or 13 when she first voiced her acceptance. And it's overlaid, juxtaposed against several couples that are becoming engaged or going through with their gay marriage. And it's very emotional. And then in the days since the Supreme Court decision, her Twitter has turned into a rainbow, and now she's offering a variety of products. I believe you can get a rainbow shot glass.
Oh, my God. Okay, please drink responsibly.
So if you just look at the polar opposites between the GOP candidates, which are out there saying, we believe in the Bible and that homosexuality is wrong, and you can literally get a full assortment of, stickers and rainbow and shot. So basically, Hillary is on this side of the LGBTQ community in a big way. And so, can we just hold the election already? Let's do this thing.
Yeah, because really, if it was still today, it's pretty clear who the winner would be. And we have to endure another year and a couple months of this bombardment from both, one side and then a whole bunch from, a little bit from the other, a whole bunch of other people. But, the problem with, saying right-wing and left-wing, there are some people who are so right-wing they run into a wall, and there are some people who are so left-wing their brain falls out. So it's a very careful balancing act. And if Hillary's really doing that, I don't follow her on Twitter. I don't follow her emails. But if she's really going all rainbows like that, she might want to dial it down just a bit. She's already got the gay vote. That's cool. She doesn't need to, she's got it. Okay, it's everybody else that she needs to convince. And, the whole Benghazi thing is a bit of a ding on her record. The Whitewater scandal way back when, a bit of a ding on her record. But the fact that she stuck with Bill through thick and thin, I think, shows a tremendous amount of resolve and commitment to finishing things to the end. And I see a tremendous amount of political awareness with her. Clearly, she spent 8 years in the White House, and she was privy to all this information. There was a joke at the time that it was the president and Mr. Clinton. So you and I both know, and pretty much every single listener right now knows that Hillary's got the election. So I think in a bit of a way, this is a moot point. But it is an interesting discussion to have, bring it to the table, and perhaps you can change some minds with it. Because I see a lot of individuals who are kind of taking a look at their quote-unquote belief system, and they're realizing, wait a minute, this is what my grandfather, this is what my dad said, and it's just a regurgitation from generation to generation to generation, and it's like, wait a minute, this hasn't worked in the past, so let's see if we can change that by changing just one little thing, and all of a sudden it cascades into a whole bunch of other realms. And, I hope that one day, probably not in our generation, we will become colorblind and blind to all those other things that today, like, oh, look, there's one of those fairies. It shouldn't be a concern. It should be a non-issue.
Well, I want to give our listeners a programming note, and Jay, I apologize that you're going to be learning this on the air for the first time. I really did mean to tell you, brah. But Gay News has been trying to get candidate Clinton for the show. So here's the story of what happened when we tried to get Hillary Clinton. Getting a hold of her is a little bit tricky, to be honest with you. So we wrote to the Clinton Foundation, and we said that we would happily like to invite Hillary Clinton on Gay News for an interview, and we extended that offer to former President Bill Clinton. And we did receive an email from the Clinton Foundation that literally said, it looks like you're trying to reach Hillary Clinton. You can contact her here. I won't say it on the air, but they essentially provided us an email address. And we have been continuously trying to reach Hillary Clinton at the email address that the Clinton Foundation provided us, and it is bouncing. Every single email that we send to Hillary at the provided address has been bouncing. So I just want you to know that I've been going through back channels. I've been trying to contact her through back channels like John Podesta. All of my efforts have come up dry. So at this point, I have one email from the Clinton Foundation saying, oh, here's how you can reach Hillary. So I've had no luck so far. My apologies to the
Okay.
listeners that were hoping to have her on.
Well, you know what? As time draws near, and if she is so dedicated to the community and our cause, I believe that she can take at least 5 minutes. You know, even if she's chewing a sandwich halfway through the interview, I'm sure she'd be willing to do it. It's just a matter of getting a hold of the right people, and I encourage you to keep trying to do that because, you know, like I said, she's committed to our cause, and you know, I think media, specifically social media, and podcasts, the internet, that's an effective way of reaching the younger voters because that's basically where we all are. And, yeah, as I said, continue to do that. Keep trying. Yeah, we do. And I can almost certainly guarantee you that if you've made those requests, you're likely being vetted right now, and your credibility is being scrutinized, and it may take some time before someone is willing to actually pick up the phone and schedule a moment for you to be able to speak with her. But until you receive that definitive NO, I would not give up.
Oh, we'll keep trying.
Yep.
So, Special Agent Jay, we thank you for your contributions, both political, opinion, and religious. Whatever you want to bring to the table on the show. We're Advent listeners. We appreciate your being a factor in the weekly programming.
Well, thanks for having me back, man.
Have a good gay.